The late night host noticed we didn't see much of Trump all week. Jimmy Fallon said, yeah, we could be working on the pandemic or the economy, but instead we had to lure Trump out of the White House like a cat burrowed under the couch. Corden said, I guess Donald Trump is capable of quarantining. Fallon, Trump's pretty much refusing to leave the house. He's basically turning into the old man from Up, Trevor. Honestly, people, I don't think Donald Trump has ever looked more pathetic than this. And yes, I'm including the time he played tennis in his sport diapers. I do remember that one. Kimmel said, why don't we just make him president of Alaska? It even sounds like the names of his wives and daughters. Melania, Ivana, Ivanka, Alaska. Kimmel said, he'd for sure be the tannest person there. He'd like that. Kimmel, plenty of wide open space to build big, ugly buildings and put your name on them. Donnie Jr. would have a lot of endangered species to shoot, and he could marry Sarah Palin. She's like a Melania who likes you. Jeez, that's harsh and hilarious. Kimmel, you'd be surrounded by people who agree with you, and you'll be able to see Russia from your house. It's everything you could dream. Let's make him the first president of the last frontier, Alaska. It's big, it's white, it's melting down, and it has lots of crabs, just like Donald Trump. Kimmel writers on fire. Jimmy Kimmel, are you back? Because Fallon cleaned your clock all summer. Kimmel, are you back? Kimmel again. And the State Department is refusing to even hand over the messages Biden has been getting from other world leaders. They're like, sorry, there's no one here named Joe Biden, but I mean, he can't come to the phone right now. Stephen Colbert said, well, sure, if Biden wants access to classified national security intel, everybody knows he's got to go through the proper channels and buy a membership to Mar-a-Lago. And Colbert said, despite clinging to the job desperately, Trump's not actually doing it. The last intelligence briefing on the president's schedule was for October 2nd. Let's stop joking for a second there. It's November 14th. I recorded this November 13th. Really? He hasn't had a briefing since October 2nd? Back to the jokes. Colbert said Trump should really take the briefing seriously because I'm sure they're full of valuable information. For instance, he might find out that the United States elected a new president. Late Night with Seth Meyers, which, as I started to put the story together, I realized I don't associate that show with Letterman anymore. I know it's been a billion years, Johnny Mac, but like I felt like Conan kind of had succeeded Letterman, like it was Late Night with David Letterman, and then, you know, Letterman went on to CBS, and then like Conan kind of had that same vibe, and I feel like that chain broke with Fallon, but I also don't feel like Seth is doing Fallon's show. Late Night, I guess, is just what NBC is going to call anything that's on at 12:30. I don't think I've ever actually seen Seth Meyers' show. Like, I've seen clips, obviously, but I don't think I've been up at 12:30 and put it on. Anyway, during the week, they were doing a bit where they had a new writer, his name, John Mulaney. And this new writer, John Mulaney, made some jokes about ghosts. He said, hey, America, do you believe in ghosts or not? You know, make up your minds. A lot of times you hear people say, oh, it felt like Pop was watching over to me today when I hit that home run, or I could feel Mama was with us when we bought the house today, or look at the dead ghost in 3 Men and a Baby. But when you actually say I believe in ghosts, people laugh at you, and they shouldn't laugh. They should believe. Chortle reports there's some new research based on web searches that will reveal to us what are the most popular comedy specials. Like with most things Chortle, this leans UK because it's a UK site. On the list, Ricky Gervais's Humanity has been named Britain's favorite Netflix stand-up special. It was also number one in Italy, Slovakia, and Turkey. That's interesting. In Ireland, Bill Burr's Paper Tiger heads the list, while in Guernsey, it was the celebration of 25 years of Def Comedy Jam, and in Jersey, not New Jersey, like actual Jersey, it is Chris Tucker Live. I didn't see that Def Comedy Jam thing coming. In Australia, Hannah Gadsby's Nanette was the most popular. She was also the most popular in Spain and across much of South America, including Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela. This study was conducted by insurance firm Budget Direct. I'll throw you guys a bone. You got your mention. Boy, that's random. Why is insurance firm Budget Direct doing this survey? They also found that Sex Education was the most searched for Netflix original comedy series in the UK, Ireland, and the Channel Islands. That is also a very funny show. You should watch that one. Globally, Sex Education was beaten into second place by Orange is the New Black. Pretty interesting survey there, right? None of that mentions Sarah Cooper, but you know, she targets an American audience. From the BBC, Jason Manford has said comedians should be able to offend and that it's a slippery slope to cancel the past. His comments come after a summer of revisionism around comedy sketches and programs which could be considered offensive by the standards of today. Manford said, it's a bad idea to rewrite our history. I don't want to offend anybody. I would be genuinely mortified if anyone left one of my shows upset by something I'd say. I'd feel like that would be a breach of contract. My audience come from a certain kind of show, and I like to put on that show. But he said, I have a real umbrage about people who will laugh at everything until something offensive is said about them. You can't have it both ways. As an example, he says, if you're going to go see Jimmy Carr and you leave offended, then you're the only idiot in that scenario. What'd you think was going to happen? Hey, you know what's happening this weekend, don't you? You do. It's the New York City Arab American Comedy Festival, or as they joke, COVID can't stop Arabs from being funny. You can check this out online. I'll tell you about that in a second. The festival was launched 17 years ago to combat negative images and stereotypes of Arab culture in post-9/11 America. One of the founders is Maysoon Zaid. She wants you to know that the festival will not just be a bunch of hummus jokes. There'll be a bunch of comedians, each with their own brand of comedy, viewpoint, and story. So as an example, she says her comedy will be different from that of, say, Aman El-Husseini, who is a gay Palestinian woman, drawing on, among other things, her personal life and marriage to a Jewish-Canadian woman. One of Zaid's jokes is, I got 99 problems and palsy is just one. If there was an oppression Olympics, I would win the gold medal. I'm Palestinian, I'm Muslim, I'm a woman, I'm disabled, and I live in New Jersey. One silver lining of the virtual show platform is everyone can see. You don't have to come to New York now. All right, if you want to do this, arabcomedy.com/shows, arabcomedy.com/shows. Shows at 7:30 and 10 tonight. Tickets are $10. From the New York Times, the New York Comedy Club is one of those clubs that's been hosting BYOB pop-ups on private rooftops where owners don't have to worry about the liquor authority revoking the business license. But these are costing them a lot. Rental spaces can go from anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 for the day, says the club's co-owner. There's also something called Take It Outside Comedy. That has used Instagram to organize 3 nighttime pop-up shows a week since mid-June, but the pop-ups, the locations of which are sent to the attendees in the form of an arrow on a map, have their share of challenges. In late August, performers in Fort Greene had to compete with a group of maskless singing children. The organizer says, we're not going for a speakeasy vibe, we're just trying to do it in a way that's sustainable. In sad comedy news, this sucks from Vulture. Rebecca Trent is the owner of the Creek and Cave in Long Island City, and she has revealed the club will not reopen. She said on Facebook, I wanted to wait until the election before I let you officially know something that I'm sure most of you already know. The Creek and the Cave is not going to reopen. It simply wasn't in a strong enough position going into the pandemic to sustain the Creek without going into insurmountable debt. Vulture writes, and they are correct here, the club was known for cultivating a looser, less polished atmosphere than its Manhattan equivalents, allowing stand-ups, improvisers, and sketch comedians to workshop newer shows. It took chances on less established performers, cultivating the early talents of Michael Che, the Lucas brothers, and Michelle Wolf. It was also a regular performance spot for people like Colin Quinn. That was a good club in the past. Another club closed, and I was like, not sure it mattered. This one mattered. This is not good for the comedy scene. Got a new podcast network for you. It's the Comedy Here Often, ? That's a stretch, right? Comedy Here Often podcast network. It will feature some of Canada's top comedy and musical talent across more than 30 shows. This will launch on the 18th. One of the founders says, there's so much talent in Canada, and it makes us proud to offer a platform that enables homegrown artists to shine. If you dig Canadian comedy, I've been checking out a podcast called Laugh Out Loud. And I know personally, I have found the American comedy scene kind of boring this year. Nothing really original. The only thing that was original was somebody pantomiming Donald Trump videos on TikTok, and as you know, I didn't like that. International scene's where it's at. Speaking of the international scene, let's talk Cameroon comedy from africanews.com. Valerie Dongo is an organizer of events at Canal Comedy, and he says, I've been doing this job for more than 15 years, and in 15 years there have been many other young comedians. There's Major Ase, Ulrich Takum, there's Mostique the Charismatic, I love that name, there's Marcus with a K, and there's a plethora of young comedians today who are making a living from the art, and that's to say that the public follows, and if the public doesn't follow, it doesn't work because nobody can live from their art. Dongo's goal is to revive the Cameroonian comedy tradition from the 60s and 80s. That's interesting, right? I don't want to be a jerk here. I'm probably undereducated on what was happening in Cameroon in the 70s. I just find that phrasing interesting from the 60s and 80s and make it not only more contemporary and professional, but also more lucrative for the comedic performers so that local comedians can keep the art form in the country alive while also still making a good living. Dongo says artists were criticized for being like thugs and dressing anyhow, so we had to marry a style that combines all that, and that combines quality work and style, so the stand-up is a bit like that. So now with this extra, it's more than stand-up. It's something that tries to go as far as possible towards the current events. From the Express, Billy Connolly will take center stage in a new ITV special. It will be his farewell. It's entitled Billy Connolly, It's Been a Pleasure. It's a documentary. Billy will take part from his home in Florida. Sir Billy has confirmed this upcoming outing on television will be his last. People who will appear in this doc include Sir Paul McCartney, Sir Elton John, and Sir Whoopi Goldberg. ITV producers said Sir Billy Connolly recently announced that he was officially stepping back from live stand-up performances to mark this major moment in comedy history. This star-studded one-hour special celebrates Billy's genius and life-affirming brand of humor. There are also unique new insights from the woman who knows Billy best, his wife and soulmate, Pamela Stevenson. Back in 2018, Connolly said, I'm at the point where the yesteryears mean more than the yesterdays because it's back there in my childhood and youth when I got to do all those things that made me. Those live keenest in my memory now, but it doesn't frighten me. It's an adventure, and it's quite interesting to see myself slipping away. When did this show turn into I end on a downer every day? I'm not laughing at Billy Connolly. I'm just laughing at every day this week. I've been like, hey, and here at the end of the comedy show, let me tell you something super depressing. Hey, The Crown is out tomorrow. If you enjoy The Crown, you will enjoy the podcast Palace Intrigue. It's all about the royal family in 2020, and every day there's some Meghan Markle drama. So check that out. It's like 5 minutes, 5 days a week. Mark Francis is your host. I'm the writer. Palace Intrigue, wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow, a normal episode, but I am going to dive into a mystery. I will leave you with this question. Does Bob's Burgers even exist? Has anyone ever seen this show? Does it have any viewers? Or is it a scam? Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or follow on Spotify, and I'll see you tomorrow for Bob's Burgers.